The first thing to do is to sit down with your child if you think they're being bullied and talk with them directly about it, to reassure them that bullying is wrong, that bullying is not a child, being a victim of bullying is not a child's fault, to praise them for talking about it, to be supportive, to not ask questions about what the child might have done to provoke bullying. So to set the stage for a conversation. If a child comes forward and talks about bullying, then there's an opportunity immediately to discuss the event, to get the facts straight. Who was there? What was the location? Were there any bystanders is important to know about. Contacting the teacher is always a good idea if the bullying occurred at school, on the way to school, or on the way back, on the bus, for example. Contacting the teacher is a good idea. Contacting the parent of the bully, if the victim's parent knows who that is not generally a good idea. It's better to work these issues out within the school, to talk with the teacher. And talking with the teachers probably best done if things are repeating and recurrent. Anywhere from 17% to 25% of youth indicate that they have been bullied. Well, youth are reluctant to disclose that they've been bullied. In fact, in one study, 61% of the children who had talked about bullying did not talk about it with their parents. So it gives you the idea that many youth are uncomfortable either because they feel a potential for embarrassment or shame, and silence is the friend of the bully, and so a lot of times this behavior goes on and becomes repeated because kids have difficulty talking about it. So the first thing I would say to adults is to be alert to the nonverbal or the physical signs of bullying. And they may be torn clothes, unexplained injuries or bruises, avoidance of school, finding new routes to school, mood shifts. Kids who are victimized through bullying are more likely than their peers to be depressed, to be isolated, to have suicidal thoughts, to have headaches or stomach aches, a wide variety of problems in terms of depressive symptoms and anxiety symptoms. There are also consequences for the bully that are very important. Kids who bully or victimize others, there's been quite a bit of research on this showing that there's some of them who are at risk of engaging in more antisocial kinds of behaviors, truancy, violence, drug use. And so bullying has consequences on both ends of the spectrum that are very serious and need to be and are being addressed by school programs. Bullying is not a fair conflict or normal conflict between two individuals. Bullying involves a power imbalance of strength and size. It has to do with intentional aggression towards another child that's usually repeated. The aggression can be verbal or physical, can involve threats, taunts, humiliating statements, but it involves an imbalance of power and repeated events. Emotionally, it can be slurs. It can be references to appearance or clothes. It can be references to sexual orientation. Physically, it can run the gamut from a slap, a punch, to more assaultive behaviors, shoving a child on the ground, pitting them against a wall, and in some cases can involve more than one child aggressing on an individual. It's true that there are some new avenues, and the internet creates an opportunity for bullying that has not been there before. The internet is relatively new, and research is following it and trying to understand the nature of cyberbullying. The first question people have been asking is the question of, is harassment online, is offensive behavior done online, is that cyberbullying? Does it meet the criteria of bullying? Is there a power imbalance? Are there repeated acts? Does it involve intentional aggression? So people are starting to ask those questions, and so there is this new avenue of bullying, and people are trying to understand it. Another important thing to keep in mind is the good news is that when you survey kids and adults, everyone agrees, the majority of people agree, that bullying is harmful to kids and that schools should do something about it. So people recognize, both youth and adults, that this is a big problem and that the schools should be involved in it. On the other hand, in one survey, 1/3 of the parents who responded indicated they weren't comfortable working with their school directly on the issue if their child had a problem. So there's still a ways to go in terms of improving communication between kids and adults and between parents and schools to address this issue.